So, welcome to the breathing space meditation practice for today, which is Sunday, the 18th of May. And if you've been following us over the last few weeks, you'll know that we are currently working our way through this book, Falling Awake, by Jon Kabat-Zinn, How to Practice Mindfulness in Everyday Life. And our practice usually follows the same format. We do a practice that's really based on body, breath, thoughts, and feelings. And then I'll weave into that a little bit about today's theme of hearing. And I'll read from the book. There's a very short chapter, which is just a couple of pages on just hearing. And then there's a really nice chapter called Soundscape, where Jon Kabat-Zinn explores a little bit more about the relationship between thoughts and sounds and how we relate to these in our practice. So I'll drop these in around around our meditation. But let's begin, as always, by just arriving into practice. So arriving into practice, you're wanting to find a posture. And as we settle into this posture, perhaps using this as an opportunity to just find out what's here. What is here? What's alive in you? As you begin to notice this transition from, the doing world into this practice of just being. Noticing perhaps a certain energy in your body. What do you notice in your thinking or in your emotions, your emotional energy? So just beginning to slow things down, turning attention inward. And this taking up a posture is really more of a question. It's like dropping a question into the body, into the mind, into emotion, and then allowing the answer to be felt in the posture, in the body. And maybe the answer would be today to lie down. And you could use this beginning of the practice just to, get yourself laid down and arrange your cushions or your blankets. Or maybe today you feel more comfortable sitting down. And we can drop awareness into that, arriving into the chair, feeling the weight of the body being received by the chair, feeling the limbs and the back, taking up a posture for meditation. As we do this, we notice perhaps this transition, this sense of arriving into practice through finding and settling into posture. Taking note and acknowledging all that's here. And it doesn't matter if today the body feels tired or rested or restless or comfortable or uncomfortable. There's no right way or wrong way that we should be feeling. Our practice is simply becoming aware of what is here in body, in thoughts, in emotions, and just being with that, opening a space to be with the way that we are. As we begin to settle into our posture, we might drop our awareness a little bit deeper into the body. Just noticing those points of contact. Maybe the feet in contact with the floor or the chair or the bed. Maybe the seat or the legs. Noticing if your back is in contact with a surface or a chair, or whether your spine is just supporting itself. Also becoming aware of the arms and the hands, how they're resting perhaps at the side of your body. If the hands are maybe on a bed beside you or resting on the thighs or held in the lap in some way. And if you notice as you connect with the body any tension in your posture, of course we can invite some subtle adjustments as the body begins to settle into awareness. And then from here, we could just drop a little bit deeper, drop our awareness, our curiosity a little bit deeper into the body, and invite a curiosity around the physical sensations of breathing. And this brings us really into the present moment of now. What do we find here today in the movement of in-breath and out-breath? Again, there's nothing here that we have to find. There is no one way that we should or could be breathing. We're not here to find a perfect breath. We're here to notice the way that the body is breathing right now and just be curious as to where and how that movement of breathing is felt in the body. You know, sometimes we do little breathing exercises to relax ourselves or to energize, but today this is not really the purpose of being with the breath. It's more an exercise of noticing and tuning into where we feel the breathing today. Some days we feel it more in the belly or the chest or the mouth or the nose. And from there we begin to just rest in awareness, like a butterfly resting on a leaf. And as that leaf is moved in the breeze, so our attention rises and falls with the movement of in breath and out breath. And of course, we're always thinking, but if possible, is there a way that we can find right now to drop into a place beneath words, a place where we're just a flow of physical sensation, where the movement of a diaphragm, the expansion or release of ribs, perhaps movement of breath in shoulders or back. And as Sharon Salzberg tells us all the time in her meditations, it doesn't matter how many times that we find ourselves wandering into thinking or an impulse, a restlessness, really doesn't matter. Each of those is an opportunity to come back to awareness. So well done for noticing that wandering mind, for noticing that impulse to follow a distraction or that question that's coming up, am I doing this right? Or a judgment perhaps about how easy or how difficult it is to focus today. Well done for noticing that chattering mind. And then, if we can, this practice is just simply acknowledging and noting the distraction and letting it go, and very gently coming back to just one more breath, a new beginning. And then one more breath. And if we can, we could be aware of when we're thinking and when we're just being. We can be aware of when our attention is daydreaming or distracted, and aware of when our attention is resting on the breath. And even just the capacity to say, oh, thinking, breathing. And it doesn't matter how many times we rinse and repeat thinking, let go of thinking, back to breathing. Every time we do this, we learn a little bit more about the wandering mind, and we also develop a little bit more choice of how to unhook from thinking, how to come back to just being with the breathing, the physical sensations of this moment without words, without thought, without judgment. And then through the breathing and around the breathing, we can invite our attention now to drop into the body. Again, just asking that question, what's alive in the body today? Perhaps already through arriving and posture, breathing, there's a sense already of the internal landscape today, a sense of emotion or energy within the body. So perhaps we could connect to how that comes alive in the body, where that energy is felt today, the sensations within the organs and the muscles and the bones of the body. So I leave the way that you connect to the body really up to you. But the invitation is simply to drop that question into the body. What's alive in me today? And then just to rest awareness in the physical sensations that rise as an answer. As we explore, can we discern the difference between bone and muscle, organ, flesh? Can we notice if the sensations that we are exploring are on the surface, on the skin, or somewhere deeper? Maybe they have a particular location, a particular limb, or the front of the body, the back of the body, the side of a body, a limb, a finger, an arm. And there's perhaps a certain quality to this sensation. Is it something that's felt over a large area of the body, or maybe just a very small and specific point? And in that location, is there a particular intensity? Are we dealing with a sensation that's very strong or very subtle? Is there a sense of tingling or pulsing, temperature? It might be that a sensation comes to mind and we go explore, and then we notice it's faded from awareness and some new sensation is attracting attention. So we might even notice the flow of awareness from one sensation to another. And again, there might be some thinking going around what we find, a questioning, a judgment, a constant mental activity. And if we find this, just notice it, acknowledge it, and if we can, let it go, and then come back just to sensation, a place below words, and follow the language of the body as it takes your attention on a little tour of all the different sensations, the layers of sensations that are on the surface and others that might be in the background. It's like watching stars appearing in the night sky. So I invite you to continue to rest in your breathing, rest in the awareness of sensations in the body, but around that also to open up a sense of hearing, awareness of any sounds in the world around you. And certainly one of those sounds might be my voice as I read from you an extract from this chapter on hearing from this book Jon Kabat-Zinn has written, and you could continue your practice under my words. Just allow my words to be in the background and continue with your breath and your body. Or you can just allow the words to drop into your practice and just see how they land. Maybe not as mental concepts, but more just how they land into the unfolding of your practice. So he begins this chapter with a poem, Old Pond, Frog Jumps In, Splash, a poem by Basho written in the 1600s. And then Jon Kabat-Zinn says, heavy, early morning, mid-November rain is hitting the roof in the darkness above my head. Every moment there is the sound of it. Can I hear it? Beyond my thoughts about the rain, even for one moment. Can I receive these sounds as they are, with no concepts whatsoever, including the concept of sound? I notice that hearing happens effortlessly. I don't have to do anything. There is nothing to do. In fact, in order to really hear, I have to get out of the way. My eye is extra. There is no need for a me that is hearing or looking out for sounds. In fact, I notice that is precisely where all the thinking is spouting from expectations and from ideas about my experience. I experiment. Can I simply let sound come and meet the ear consciousness that arises in the bare experience of hearing, as is already happening in and every moment, in any and every moment? Is it actually possible to get out of my own way and just let there be hearing? To let the sounds come to the ear, be in the ear, in the air, in a moment, without any embellishment, without any trying, just hearing what is here to be heard, since the sounds are already rapping at the gateway of the ears. Being with hearing in the stillness of open attending. Drip, 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 gurgle, 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 swirl, 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 the air filled with sound, the body bathed in sound. In utter stillness, there is only the rain on the roof, whipped sometimes by the wind into sheets spattering on the windows, pure sound in the ears, filling the room. In this moment, somewhere, far in the background, there is the knowing that I am sitting here, that rain is falling, but the experience before thinking, behind any thoughts that do secrete themselves, is one of pure sound, just hearing, no longer a separate hearer and what is being heard. There is only hearing, and in the hearing, the knowing of sound, beyond words like rain or concepts like me and hearing. The knowing rests in the hearing, for now they are one. The rain is so forceful this morning, so compelling, so absorbing, that attention sustains itself effortlessly. The experiencing of sound has in this moment trumped the conceptual mind. This is not always, or even usually, the case. It's so easy to be carried into thinking. It's so easy to distract myself, to be carried so far away from the ears that I do not even hear the rain anymore. Even though the body and the ears are still just as bathed in its sounds as the moment before, when there was only just this. So an elemental challenge of mindfulness is to rest in the awareness of hearing, hearing only what is here, moment by moment, sounds arising, passing, silence inside and underneath sounds, beyond interpreting the momentary experience as either pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, beyond all identifiers and judgments, beyond all thoughts about anything, just this giving myself over to sitting, hearing, breathing, knowing. In the hearing, there is momentary freedom from any me hearing, and from what is heard, from both a knower and what is known. Nothing is missing. A moment of original mind, empty, knowing, vast. For a brief moment, perhaps, we have actually come to, arrived at, our senses. Can we abide here for a time? Can we live here? What would we lose? What might be gained or recovered? When are sounds and the spaces between sounds not present for us? When are sights not present? And are we here for them? Can we be here for them? Can we be the knowing, the resting in the knowing, act out of the knowing, fully present with what already is? What is the feeling tone of such a moment? Trying is not the answer. We do not have to try to hear, but the mind is devious. Can we know it? So I invite you for the last 5 or 10 minutes of today's practice to just sit in what we call choiceless awareness. Also something known in mindfulness as mind like open sky. So we open our awareness from a focus on the internal landscape to one where we imagine the mind like a big open sky, and we allow awareness of anything that comes into that space. So as we observe the sky, we might see clouds, a bird. And so as we sit with choiceless awareness, we might hear a sound, a thought, a sensation in the body. And we simply acknowledge what we are aware of. And then we allow it to become part of this flow of sensation, of sound, of thought. But we stay as the observer, simply watching what happens. Can we just hear sound as sound? Can we see a thought as simply something crossing the mind? Can we feel a sensation simply as a sensation? And can we just rest at the center of it all as an awareness of whatever is alive in this moment? So whatever you've encountered in today's practice, remember that it's already there. It's already here. Just like the rain that Jon Kabat-Zinn was describing in his chapter, and whether he could be present and aware of it, whether he could find a way of connecting to that sound underneath all the thinking or the perceiving or the conceptual activity of the mind, and just be with the sound that's already here. So in our practice, we become aware of that busy mind and the way that it pulls us this way and that way, and our perceptions, our stories. But can we connect through all that, underneath all that, just to what is simply here? The movement of the breathing, or the sensations in the body, the sounds in the room. And can we just connect even to thinking, just as thinking, just as electrical impulses and chemical reactions in the brain, little synapses and brain networks that have formed into habits and patterns of thinking. Can we just observe them too, the way we might observe the weather or the way we might listen to sound? And as Jon Kabat-Zinn always says, the practice never really ends. It has no end or no beginning. But at least in our formal practice, we get a space in our day to really explore what it's like to be present with what is alive in the body and the mind and the world around us. And perhaps we can find little moments through the week ahead where we can just drop into this choiceless awareness, connection to body and breath and thought and feeling in a more kind of mindful and present way. So if you come across anything in today's practice that feels particularly difficult or challenging, then perhaps we can breathe a smile into that, a smile of softness and self-compassion. Whether it be anything you found in the body or the emotions or the thoughts, we have this capacity of awareness that can be also a compassionate and kind and caring awareness. We can breathe that warmth and softness in and around what we find. And we can recognize the full diversity and range of human experience, the life and the life force that is in everything that we experience. And we can finish maybe just by giving yourself a little pat on the back and saying, well done for being here today. Well done for giving yourself this space for your own mindfulness practice. And also, well done for being here for everybody who is practicing together. Just as we are all grateful for each other, for the mindful presence of each other as we support each other in our practice. So we'll end this recording and we'll end this guided meditation here. Maybe just bringing some movement into your toes or your fingers and just sensing how that feels. And then your body might want to stretch or move in some way after sitting or lying. You might feel a need to maybe take a few breaths, a yawn, maybe, or a sigh as you open your eyes, take in the world around you. And then when you're ready, we can maybe just gently come back to the screen together. We can have a little discussion, maybe about anything that's come up in today's practice. And if you're watching on a recording, always a good time now, maybe just to sit down and do a little bit of journaling on anything that might have come up in your practice. And I'll end the recording here.